Sub Cyrax, the relatively new hotness. I realize I'm late to this party, but that's because I really like to grind stuff before I'm going to make a video about it. And you, I'm sure, have seen Sub Cyrax combo videos, you've seen Sikander play, but I want to break this character down a bit because the combos are tricky. A lot of the timing is very specific, and once you know the core combo routes and understand them, understand what your options are, then you can really begin to do some effective stuff with his character. So, let's get into it. We're going to kick off with what is one of the trickiest combos to hit, and that is the throw combo. Now, before I do the actual throw combo, let's talk about what you're going to be doing once you hit with it. Once you hit the throw combo, they're going to be airborne. So I'm putting the opponent in an airborne state by doing back two as an example. Once they're in that airborne state, you're going to want to hit with 2-1. So there's 2-1 right there. That's something you use all the time in Sub-Zero combos because it's so high damaging. You're thinking of freeze. Notice, however, though, that freeze can leave the opponent really high. So you want to delay your jump a little bit to leave them lower. The reason for this is you want to be able to follow up after that freeze with an attack. So I'm doing a little bit lower, and the attack I'm doing to follow up with is 1, 3, 4. So I'll just show you 1, 3, 4 by itself. That's 1, 3, 4. Now, the reason we're doing that one is it's just the highest damage we can get off of that interaction. You certainly have other options. After they're in the air, you could be doing a 1, 2 and jumping over them. The frames usually aren't going to be enough, though, for a true safe jump, but the opponent may not realize that. So you can be doing something like a 1, 2 in the air. You see there, if they're too high, it can be tricky to hit them. You might have to wait. So, you can be doing a safe jump like this, though again, the frames aren't going to be amazing for you because Cyrax hits so many times. Basically, with Cyrax, you're giving up your safe jump options. That's a downside, but the character rewards you in other ways. So again, we're going to put the opponent airborne, 2-1, freeze, and then after the freeze, jump up 1, 2, 4. We're going to keep them low, or you're going to have to just wait. So if you ever notice you freeze the opponent too high like this, you just got to chill for a bit, then jump in and do it. All right? So combo itself is you do a back throw, press up kameo right as Sub is pulling away his hand. Okay, boom, there it is, first try. Just real quick, let me break down the timing. So, just going to show the animation. See how Sub breaks that little ice piece off and then pulls his hand back? It's right as Sub-Zero is pulling his hand back. I used to think that the timing was the second he broke the ice, like right there, but it's really as his hand begins to move backward. And that's what allowed me to become much more consistent. Now, unfortunately, the online in this game compared to offline, you can feel the difference. So I am much more consistent online than I am offline. But I've reached a place where I'm maybe hitting that 70-75% of the time, and I'm sometimes killing people just with throws because 23.5% is freaking amazing. What if you wanted to get more damage off of that throw? Well, I'll show that next. In order to talk about doing additional damage off of a throw combo, we've got to understand how Slide and Cyrax interact with each other, just because most of your starters or extensions are going to involve the Slide. Now, I'm going to be real. I've done a bunch of takes for this video because I wanted to try to give you this information in a clear, segmented way with each part, and that's just not working out. So we're going to do one take, and I'm just going to walk you through the rest of this. Now, I get it. It's going to mean this video is going to be a little bit longer than I was hoping, but I am truthfully trying to do my best to condense hours upon hours upon hours of gameplay into something bite-sized that you can get the highlights of and improve your gameplay. And the truth is, there's just a lot of stuff with Cyrax that can be finicky, and so knowing the tricks for dealing with it, like the timing on the throw, that's what I want to make sure you know. So when Sub-Zero got this on the recent patch, meaning the ability to not hold slide and the opponent pops up, a lot of us went, oh, I could call Cyrax and do a combo like this. It's not amazing, but hey, it's more damage than a regular slide, yay. Now, when I showed this in a previous video, I want to say the Stroke Goat commented in YouTube, hey, no, there's actually more damage you can get. Then I saw a video by Elbow where they did this, and my head straight up exploded because As far as I can tell, that has always been in the game, and I had never seen it until like this past month, okay? And that's what I love about MK1, because I get that this game is not for everybody, but for me as a lab monster, finding stuff, you know, a year later, like when I found that you could slide in a scorpion, that made my week. I was like, oh, after all the digging, I just found this awesome new tech, and I'm sure whoever figured this out felt the same way, because look at this damage, 18% already, and we haven't even continued doing stuff. So it has been known that Sub Cyrax in the corner is giving you big damage, but now with this tech being uncovered, we can now be getting bigger damage mid-screen. It's incredible. And we are doing this off of everything. Yeah, you know I'm the type of person that loves to just slide from here, but we're also doing slide combos here. Slide combos here. It's the same as using Scorpion. For most characters these days, your optimals involve sliding early. If you are playing Cyrax, Scorpion, Sonya, all of them, it is you do a string into a slide into your cameo call. That is your max damage route. Exceptions are when you're playing Chameleon and you're using Jade Glaive, or you're playing Serena, right? But for any of these slide-focused characters, you're always sliding early. So, for example, this is also going to be our B&B. So everything I'm about to show you for extensions on slide, it applies to so much of your game plan. What's the timing, though, for hitting this? So when the spear goes up, at the highest point of up, that is when you would call Janet, if you're playing Janet. But we instead with Cyrax want to wait till they're descending. So Cyrax is bringing them down on the spear. And you're going to do a neutral Cyrax call. There's actually a pretty decent window. I called that one a little bit later and notice it's still connecting. So just show a few times. We call then. We call now. We call now. See, it's right as we're descending. That's when the call happens. So that's the timing for doing it. What are we doing after that? Well, I know you might want to do a jump 2-1 into clone. The problem is 2-1 is tricky to hit with. And if you do neutral 2-1 clone, the clone does not connect. If you try to do back jump 2-1, the 2 doesn't connect. So instead, what you're going to see people like Sikander doing is a jump 1. And that's because a 1 is 7 frames versus the 9 frames here. So your optimal route is going to be jump 1, 3, 4. So the same ender we did on the throw combo. I would encourage you, though, to learn to do the back jump. It's going to be a little bit tighter. Notice how that whiffed because I didn't time it quite right. It will take a little bit of work, but it will reward you because not only does that combo still work, but now it's easier for us to add to that. So if we want to spend another bar, for instance, or spend a bar of meter as opposed to cameo, we can do an extension. And this is what is so important to be able to do with a character. You want a character that allows your combos to continually grow. And I'll be real, that was a problem I had with Cyrax and even Sonya for a while of I really felt like my damage was capped out and I couldn't just keep spending resources to extend the damage. And with Cyrax and also Sonya and of course Scorpion, you totally can. And it is freaking incredible. So whether I'm hitting with forward 1-2 or just raw slide, if you've got a meter, you're going to do jump back 1-1. The reason why we're using 1-1 is because it just hits the best. If I try to use 1-3, the slam is not going to connect. So it's not going to work. So we're using 1-1, even though 1-1 scales slightly. That gives us our slam. Now, if we jump back, we're a little closer to the opponent because of that. And so personally, I find it easier to then go up and in with this. You might have noticed I had a little bit of a micro dash that I cancel into a jump. I'm going to try to not do that, though. It's in my muscle memory to do it. But I'm going to try to just do the jump to see if it's possible. Yes. So even if you just jump back after the slam, you can connect as long as it was a jump back to, 1-1. So jump back 1-1, jump up, and that'll hit. Now, personally, I'm not as big a fan of the spacing because you can't hit with the 1 there, and that's why I do like the little micro dash. And so this is what I mean about like the little things. See, I'm just a little bit close now. In fact, I'd love to be even slightly closer than that. There we go. So if I had waited, because I'm at plus 22, and this is 15 frames, so I gotta wait 7 frames before I do that punch. So that is what I would be doing all the time if I've got another bar. Doing 1-1 slam, then right here, right in their face to do this, to do a throw, all this. And why do we want to be in their face for throws? So we can do throw combos. So we can hit them with this and be like, all right, and then now I'm comboing you for this, right? Now, notice that those actually will work together, right? Because if you hit with this slide and then are doing a slam, we have not spent our clone yet. So we can be using clone as part of our throw combo for some extra damage. Now, what if you don't have a meter? Or what if you want to do even more damage? Well, in any of these cases, you can instead call Cyrax twice. So this one's actually pretty tricky. I'm going to backdash and do a standing 1 into slide. Then I'm going to call Cyrax again, clone, neutral jump, late 2-1. I want you to notice the damage, 39%. That is crazy. I'm not saying 39% is crazy. Obviously, I've played Natara, I can hit for 50%, right? But I'm saying that the resources to damage ratio is insane. For 1 Cyrax, we were getting 29.5. For 2 Cyraxes, we're getting 39. You were getting basically around 10% damage increase for 1 more bar spend. That is freaking incredible. So backdash, standing 1, this one's hard. This is going to take some work to get. But standing 1, into instant clone, into 2-1. All right? And that's just off slide. That was not me doing a string, that was just slide. Now, some people might be wondering, could I do more than a standing 1? Yes, you can do a standing 3. But standing 3, so hard to hit with. So hard. You can actually just stay there and hit with a 3. And you got to hit it like the top of the toes. But, I mean, look at this whiff. I'm showing you the whiffs just to prove how hard it is. $41, right? So I'm glad I hit it, so I can actually show the damage difference. It's only 2%. That to me is not worth it. Sure, it can be good to know about the existence of an optimal if you want to train it, if you need to kill, but generally speaking, that is not what I would recommend you use. I would recommend you use the 1, because it's just going to hit more often for you. And honestly, I would urge you to do the extension this way if you've got the meter. I would do the slam into the slide, into the second call, into this, boom. Now, that's requiring both my Cyraxes and a meter, and it's only increasing my damage a little bit, but it makes it a lot more consistent, because now I don't have to do the backdash into the standing 1, into the slide. Instead, I got all the time in the world to watch them fall from this slide, then get the second Cyrax call. Oh, by the way, that second Cyrax call, the timing is a little bit tighter than the first, but the same principle. You want to be doing it right as they're coming down from the peak of the spear, stabbing them up, and then coming down. Again, as it comes down, that's when you want to do it. So, real quick review. If you don't have any more resources, jump back, 1, 3, 4. If you've got a meter, jump back, 1, 1, slam, all right? After the slam, you're going to jump up 1, 3, 4. If you want to be closer, do a micro dash, and then you'll be right here. If you have just cameo bar, dash back, standing 1, slide. Call cameo again, clone, 2, 1. Final one, putting it all together. So notice we can really scale it based on what resources we have access to extend with a bar, to extend with an extra Cyrax, or to even extend with both. Some of you might be wondering if there was an opportunity to extend after the slam. Yes, it is possible to hit a standing 3 and a slide, but it is also crazy hard, and I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me do it because I am doing this in one take. But that does exist. So if you want to train, slam, dash up, standing 3, hitting tippy of toes, into kick, into the rest of what I showed you, you can. And it'll increase your damage by 2%, like when I showed you the switch from standing 1 to standing 3. Now again, this is true of all of your combos. So even if you're hitting with this, we've got the exact same extension options. And that's why if you just learn these extension options, then you know it for everything. You can say, all right, I want to extend this because I've got the bar to do it. Now I just hit for 45+% off of a 4-1. It's amazing. Now, if anyone's wondering, could you extend it any further? Yes, you actually can extend it further. I showed this in my Punishing Serena video. Basically, what you're going to want to do is a second metered slam. So your first metered slam is going to be 1-1. Then you're going to do a 2-1 slam. So just to show that again, you're doing jump back, 1-1 slam, and then 2-1 slam. 1-1 slam, 2-1 slam. Yeah? And then after that slam, we're going to call slide again. We're going to do slide again. Then we're going to call Cyrax, clone. So for something like this, I would say, probably not really worth the additional meter spend. It is giving you a couple more percent for sure. It's still a very good return on damage investment, but you're probably not going to be using that one quite as frequently, because this one, for one, yeah, that one's giving us 42, the other's giving us 45, so we're only getting like a 3.5% increase for that second bar. If you need the kill, by all means, do the kill, right? But yeah, in most cases, probably not going to be worth it. So there it is. Whether you've got just the one Cyrax for your initial call, or 1 or 2 meters, or want to spend an extra Cyrax meter, you've got basically every combo you are normally going to be doing mid-screen for a B&B, and all of those same things are going to apply if you want to extend this. You'd be doing the slam into a slide, into a second Cyrax call, into the flip back, so on and so forth. The thing you got to keep in mind with this, though, is that throw combos are naturally heavily scaled. So us getting the 23.5 is already really, really good. So yeah, again, if you want to get the kill, by all means, if it'll do it. But something like this is only, it is 4%. 4%, it's an only, because it's not 5 or 10 like I showed you previously, right? But it's a decent increase of damage. I would say anything that's like 1 or 2 is generally not worth it. But getting to around that 4, is good. It was good, and that's about what you're getting for that. So you could be extending it in that way, just as a heads up. In terms of extended beyond that, it's going to be tricky to get extra hits because of, again, just the nature of how this slam is working. You'll notice that is hard to connect. But I would say doing one extension with 1 meter isn't that bad. Or again, extending with that second Cyrax call isn't too hard to connect. Honestly, the hardest part is just the initial portion of the combo. So, getting this part into this, that later stuff isn't that bad. And then, yeah. Now, granted, oh, and yeah, okay, that makes more sense to me. Yeah, the reason that I had in my head it wasn't that great an exchange is I didn't just spend 1 bar, right? I spent an extra bar and an extra Cyrax cameo to get that additional percent of 4. So I would say that it's usually not worth it. It's worth it. Just do your regular throw combo for the 23.5, and that is going to be well worth it. Do not spend 2 other resources to get an additional 4%. That's spending, you're only getting 2% per resource spend. Not worth it. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering about without the freeze, you still get 20%. That's why I just did a bunch of throws. I wanted to show you that. So if you don't do the freeze as part of your combo, you still actually get a 20% combo, and then you could be going in and using your freeze in your next combo instead. So that's mid-screen B&Bs. Now, some people might be surprised. I haven't discussed this yet. And yeah, this is the other type of combo you're going to be doing. So what is this? So this is basically any hit You could do a freeze first and then do this, but that is going to damage scale. What I would say is if you're playing like a laggy match, go and do this just because that is easier to connect with than this is. It's because that's 40 frames and this is 39 frames. I realize that it feels like a 1 frame difference shouldn't matter, but it's there. Like this just ends up connecting more easily. I think part of it is just when we're calling out Cyrax, sometimes he doesn't come right away. You get that like meh sound, right? But assuming you call him right, he will trap off of this. So what's the idea of doing the net? Well, if you know this game at all, you know being able to combo into Cyrax's net is insane because Cyrax's net meter drains. So look at this meter drain. I'm going to take him off a full meter. Full meter they just lost. So if they were at the edge of getting to a breaker, you're going to want to do this type of combo instead. And again, if you're worried at all about missing it, just freeze them, then do this. And then you're going to steal their bar. Now, while you are stealing their bar, while they're like this, you're going to want to be dashing them toward the corner. Because, as we know, Sub-Zero is good in the corner. You've got all the way until they wrestle themselves free to hit them. So I can still hit them there. Even when they're just like breaking out of it, you can still hit them like right now. See how it's still a combo? So you can really push them pretty freaking far before it's even there. Still a combo. Pretty great, right? Now, there is another way that you can hit this without having to spend a bar. And it's, you'd hit like this. To be real, though, you're probably not hitting raw back twos very often. Instead, it's more likely you are going to be connecting with a bar in some way, shape, or form. Maybe doing something like this, like this, and pushing them. All right? But it's generally speaking better to do this into this because that way you've preserved your clone because you want to be using your clone while they're in the corner. You want to be doing something like this for the clone setup shenanigans that we've talked about previously. So that's the other good thing about Cyrax combos, but it is a little more meter intensive because you got to spend a bar to do the vapors on the ground, and then of course you got to spend this cameo. A little bit of a heads up, you can be hitting them with vapors so you get some meter build while they're hanging out in the air or on the ground. So you can be doing something like this, but you just have to do it. You just got to make sure you give a little pause in between. Otherwise that kick will come out and then you'll, ruin it as you just saw happen there. So that's the other main thing you're going to be doing with Cyrax on your team is this sort of stuff. Beyond that, mid-screen, the only other thing I would say is after a Fatal Blow combo, you're left around here. So normally after a Fatal Blow, you're going to be hitting him with Ice Punch, but you also can call out Sector. And then you can call it Cyrax. I'm doing this by pressing down. I can also press forward. So if you press forward, it'll come here. But if you press down, he comes out near to the opponent. So if you press down, and then you hold block and you move by pressing the cameo button, the direction you want to move in, you can get him close. And that's just another good way to do some final chip, because with the more recent buff to Cyrax, even if they punch Cyrax, even if they were to like hit him, the bomb will drop and it'll still be there. And there is some corner tech involved with that as well. But in terms of mid-screen B&B combos, it is mainly about using slide and then extending based on the amount of meter you feel comfortable spending for your setups. Yeah, something like that. Keep in mind, you also don't have to end in those ways. If you want to preserve your clone, so then you can be using it off the throw, that's fine too. What about the corner? So here we are, the place that Sub Cyrax has been known for quite some time, getting this big, explosive corner damage, or even for just a bar. We're hitting for 46%. It's amazing. And you don't even need to spend a bar. You could just be doing a freeze and getting 40%. So yeah, amazing. 41 really. So for one cameo call, 41%. For an additional bar, 46, a 5% return. That's quite good. The thing that I mainly want you to know about this, because I'm sure you've seen these sorts of combos a bunch, is just the timing, because it is a bit trickier. You want to call Cyrax with an up Cyrax call right as it's starting to go down. So there's not as much of a wiggle room for error. And part of that is because you're hitting with jump 2. Now you don't have to hit with jump 2. We could be going back to the, like this, right? But you'll notice that that damage is nowhere near as high. So it really is worthwhile to be hitting, I mean, you could do this, just for sake of argument. It is worthwhile to be hitting with the 2-1. I do think you can get consistent with that and just be hitting for more damage. Really, of course, want to ride that line between making sure you're getting to see optimal combos in these videos, but also combos that you can hit a bunch. So if you're having trouble hitting the 2-1, connecting that, just go for the jump 1 like we would mid-screen. Now, in case you're wondering how much you can extend this, you can do 2 slams. So 2 slams into the freeze. And then you got to hit this low, like that. And that's going to give you 50%, which is pretty freaking amazing. You might have also seen Sikander do a second Cyrax call. Yeah, that one I called Cyrax too early. So we can do a second call after 1 slam. Yeah, you can see there is some timing to this. So right there, as it's starting to go down. So the idea is with this one, do 1 slam, then do jump 2-2-2, then neutral jump freeze, and then you just need to hit that a little bit sooner. Or you can wait and do a slide on the ground. There we go. So 49.8, I mean, amazing damage, right? And notice what I did there. That's a trade of 1 bar for a kameo. So the 50% combo I showed you was 1 kameo bar, 2 regular bars of meter. This one was only 1 regular bar of meter, but both cameos. Now, the downside is you did see me end up over here, which is not ideal. So you can instead just wait and do a slide at the end. And that way your positioning is a bit better. You can kind of sit back here and then slide. And you do just need to wait a bit in order to get that hit off. There we go. And so that's going to give you that nice positioning. I want to say if you hit Cyrax just right, that damage should be even slightly higher. Yeah, 495. So you can see that there's just a lot of damage to be had in the corner. The other thing in the corner that you can be doing is calling out this guy, Cyrax, to create some mix-ups. Now, the way this works out is you want to generally freeze the opponent, like so. Then you're calling out Cyrax, then you're moving Cyrax to here, then you're doing like a push into a combo. So how does all this stuff work out? Well, generally speaking, you can only call Cyrax as a summon. I mean, he's not an ambush. Like, I can't be, you know, attacking and calling Cyrax. It's when I'm no longer doing something that Cyrax comes out. So that's why the freeze is advantageous, because it's an opportunity to do said summon. So you're going to generally want to do down Cyrax, because if you do forward Cyrax, comes out near you, down Cyrax, comes out near the opponent. You're also going to want to then crab walk, which looks hilarious. So you bring him out, you hold block, and then you just move him. The way you move him is by, while you're holding block, press the direction and hold the kameo button. So all that together, we end up wanting to put him over here. You can also be doing a slide during this. So you can be bringing him out and still be moving him, so that way then he can explode. There is some timing in that. Now, the mix-ups on this honestly aren't incredible. It's not like you're getting frost mix-ups. You do have the push, which is nice. And then you can do like 2 back 2s into a freeze, into your regular combo of choice. It's going to be damage scale because it is a throw. So, I mean, that's decent. But it's really tough to get much else beyond that, because if you do like that, you're going to get hit. Now, it is possible to be far enough away that something like that you're not getting hit. But that's something they could just be ducking. So if they're neutral ducking, this is going to whiff, and also your throw is going to whiff. So really what you're going to do more is kind of like freak the opponent out and make them want to hang themselves, basically. So you get Cyrax there, you know, maybe you put even a clone in front of them, and now they're just freaking out. Now they're wanting to jump, and you anti-air them. So that's the thing. You want to put them in a stress position, but a good player will realize they can just sit here, and there's really not a lot you can do. I mean, you can, of course, walk in and be doing this to this, but neither of those really are comboable, because if Cyrax is out, like here, this is not going to combo, or if it does, you're going to get hit in the explosion. This does combo, but they can generally react. I mean, online, yeah, you can get away from some stuff, but this is a 24 frame overhead. If you're playing good player, especially offline, they are just going to block that on reaction. So I do think there's some cool stuff here. You can certainly watch Sikander having a lot of fun with this, and it is fun to watch Cyrax out there and see the opponent like freak out and be like, oh no, I don't want to be in the corner with Cyrax there. But that's the other main thing you're going to be doing in the corner. So basically, corner combos are all going to be about up, Cyrax call, right as the spear is coming down, you're going to do jump 2-1 and then spend the amount of resources that you would like to spend. There are some other little variations on this, you know, you can be doing where you actually have Cyrax fling them back and then you're jumping back and stuff, but this really is the optimal route. In terms of adding extra bar to it and other optimal routes that could exist for maybe like calling him out, those are there, but the ones I've shown you are the main ones you're going to be using. And in case you're wondering why the 222 is being used, it's just a slower string. It keeps them in the air longer. You could be doing this one and still calling Cyrax out. So just know that those options, again, can exist too, but mainly the one you're doing is going to be, you know, something like this with the freeze and then the low call to get the dive kick, like that sort of thing. And you're just getting awesome damage. The one thing that did bug me about Cyrax in the corner, though, is in a lot of cases, you're getting hits that aren't starting from a grounded position. So let's talk about that in the corner, and then also mid-screen. So the idea of this is, in a lot of cases, well, not a lot of cases, but in some cases, you're going to be hitting the opponent maybe with like a raw back two. Now, honestly, if you're going to hit somebody with a back two in the corner, you should just do back two into slide, and then we can start our combo like usual, okay? But let's say you mess up, and you put them airborne, and you're like, oh no, what do I do now? How do I get my combos? Well, you can be doing, you know, something like this, and then calling Cyrax out, you know, and then positioning for this. Like, you can do these sorts of things, but if you're wanting to just hit with a combo and do damage, and the opponent's already been in an airborne state, you're going to need to use a jump 1 to keep that going. So you're going to want to jump 1 and then go into the slam. So just an example of what that looks like. It is a little tricky timing wise, but you're basically needing to move to your fastest jumping button in order to get it done. I do want to show you the real combo. There. So it's tight. And this is one reason I'm not as big of a fan of Cyrax in this type of position. Yeah, because it is tough to hit that. So more likely you're going to keep it to 2. So you just do like 2 of these. And then you can honestly go into like a forward 1-2 if you're only doing 2 of those. And see how that's going to allow you a bit more lift, right? So the idea is that if you hit somebody into an airborne state, you really don't want to do too much more to keep them in an airborne state. Honestly, you could just do the 1 and then go into the side. Like, just do 1 of these and then go into this. And then that's going to make it easier to connect with that. See how they're much higher after that, right? And then we could be doing the regular freeze and stuff. So you could be doing... if we had 1 knock up. See how you could actually be hitting with something like that. So if you only have 1 knock up in the air, it's not going to change things too much for you. But if you have more than that, then you're going to need to do the jump 1. So If the opponent's jumping, a lot of times you're going to hit with like this. You can still get something like this. But notice again, the gravity, it just changes. So something like this would be easier, right? So hopefully you're getting the general concept here, which is if you have the opponent in the air, or if you put them in an airborne state, do fewer hits into what would be your usual, and then you're likely going to be able to keep it going with your standard 2-1. But if you're worried about that hitting, instead do a jump 1 into slam. So again, if you're accidentally hitting with 2 of these, you're like, oh no, I hit that twice, it's going to be harder for me to hit my follow-up, just do the jump 1 slam instead. Alright? And that would really need to hit low to connect with the dive kick. If you catch yourself and you're like, oh wait, I only did it once, alright, then you should still be able to hit with the regular 2-1. Alright? And this is going to apply to situations like this, because there's many times you're going to be anti-airing the opponent. In that case, notice I'm still able to hit it because I only did 1 rep of the 1-2. If I had done 2 reps of the 1-2, well, now I should probably be doing the jump 1 to get the extra hit off, like that, see? So you really want to kind of, and then the dive kick's going to miss. So you can see that, again, things change. It's also going to be the same if I did a clone in the air. A lot of times you're going to catch people like this, right? So if you do a clone in the air, I wouldn't, the timing to hit with that as they're falling is going to be tricky. So I would probably go ahead and hit with the jump 1-2, do this, go into this, and then look to do the jump 1 slam. Yeah, see how it still works? I don't have another freeze left, so I can't do that. But there you have it. So the idea is, if you do hit somebody airborne, try to really limit that combo. So if you start them with this, or you start them on the 1-2, or you freeze them in the air, try to keep that really low in terms of the number of additional hits. Do a standing 4, do a 1-2, go in a slide. If you keep the reps really low, you'll be able to do your regular jump 2-1. If you end up doing too many reps or you're worried about connecting, do jump 1 into immediate slam. Last thing, the stuff we just talked about in terms of hitting the opponent airborne also applies mid-screen. So if I did hit somebody with that raw back 2, I'm going to want to end that combo quickly, or end that part of the combo quickly, so then I can do the rest of the stuff I would usually do. And you can see nice, big old chunky damage. And that was me doing all of the usual stuff, meaning after hitting with the standing 4 into slide, jumping back up 1-1 into slam, sliding again, Cyrax call, all the stuff we learned in the beginning. So if you hit with a raw back 2, that's what you're going to want to do. If the opponent was jumping, that's what you're going to want to do. So a lot of times you're going to catch the opponent like this. We're just going to do slide into this like normal. We can hit the back 1-1 into slam. All this stuff. Combos are the same as what we showed before. Now if you accidentally do too many reps, it's going to mess things up. So then you're going to just need to do 1 into slam, because if I try to do that, see, it's going to miss, right? So I just need to do 1 and then immediate slam if I do too many reps. So that will then hit, and then if I wanted to keep it going, I could do the rest like so. And notice I'm not getting as much damage in that way. Same idea if I air clone them. And do like this. Now obviously if you are making it all the way to the corner, that should affect what you're doing. But assuming we are staying mid-screen, in this case, I'm just going to jump back 1 to get that hit. And calling Cyrax again, I could, but it's not going to do as much damage for me because I've already used my clone. So, idea is if you hit the opponent in an airborne state as opposed to a grounded state, it is going to change the nature of your follow-up combo. Keep it short, meaning don't do too much before you hit with the slide. By not doing too much, you're going to be able to do your combo as normal. If you do more than that, so I do a couple of these and then I go into it, then I'm just going to have to jump 1 and do the slam immediately if I'm wanting that sort of combo. Beyond those oddities, there are a couple other hits you should be aware of. Obviously, back through 4 is a really good footsie string. It's the fastest, footsie tool at 13 frames in terms of an advancing attack. We've got forward 1, but that's 15 frames, so this is 13, which is great. Obviously, this is an amazing footsie tool, but it doesn't really move you forward. So this is something you would normally be using in the neutral. However, unfortunately, you cannot hit confirm this unless you're just a god and can hit confirm this, which is possible. You can be doing back 3, and then you can be buffering. So buffering is you put in the motion, but you don't press the button. So you hit with back 3, you wait to see are they in a stagger state. If so, you're already doing a back forward, right? So already doing a back forward, and then you would immediately, as soon as you see them staggering, you would immediately press the button. So you're seeing them stagger, press the button. Now again, that is godlike. That's not something that you're normally going to be doing. Instead, what you're going to want to do if you want to combo with this is you just have to go ahead and call Cyrax right away. So you don't know if this is going to hit, you don't know if they're going to block it. The upside is this is basically safe. There's a gap, the opponent can blow you up, but you can just throw this string out, call Cyrax immediately, and then it will connect. In terms of what your combo would look like after this, well, because they're already airborne and the Cyrax is already out, you're not really going to be able to get too much. You're just mainly going to be doing the 2-1 freeze into the 1-3-4, like we've shown before. You do need to catch them pretty early with that freeze, and you got to call again Cyrax right away. So notice if I don't do it fast enough, they're going to get knocked back. I want to be close to them like this, and then hitting the rest. So you're normally going to hit for around like 31% doing this. You can see it is a bit finicky. You got to get used to going up like right away, waiting a moment, then hitting this. Yeah, like 31, 32 is what you're normally going to get. Off of raw back 2, you can call this, and it'll make it safe, because they got a stand block to block the overhead, right? And so calling held Cyrax will make you safe. So you do actually have a safe overhead mid-screen. In terms of your follow-up, same sort of idea, like this, into this. Now, that's not insane damage, but you can totally win a match with that, and it is safe. So, we do lose some routes that we would normally be used to using with Sub-Zero, with certain cameos, but we do gain access to lots of other stuff, which this whole video has been about, and then you can still do some of the standard things like a mid-screen back 3-4. Final thing is we also get this throw. So it's pretty scary that we can back throw and get a combo, but we can also forward throw and get a combo. Imagine I hit that back throw combo, if you would, okay? In terms of what your routing looks like for this, it's the same stuff I've been talking about. The more you do, the harder it is going to be to connect with stuff. See, I did a couple things there, so then I can't do my regular extensions. So if I am wanting to do extensions, I'm just going to dash forward, keep it simple, and now look at this. Now I can get my usual things here and be hitting for around like 33%. You need to be keeping in mind though how much meter you're spending for how much damage gain. If I instead did something really basic like this, I'm gonna hit for 23%. The previous version I showed you used 2 additional cameo bars and the rest of my meter, because doing this already takes 2 meters, just by the way. So that other version did 10 more %. Is it worth it to spend both cameo bars and your last bar of meter for only 10 more % damage? For the kill, yeah, absolutely. In most other situations, nah, most likely not. So it's going to be a lot better for you to instead just press block. That's what makes the explosion happen. Wait a second before you hit the back 2, jump 1-2, forward 1-2. Now, there are versions that will give you more damage, but they are more complex, and you're only getting an additional % or 2. For instance, if I hit the back 2 here, you jump 2-1 and try to get a freeze, it is possible to do. But notice, that only gave me like 2 and change more %. And that is actually quite tight to hit. I know I just hit it the first time, but that is actually very, very hard to do. A slightly simpler version of it is you do the 2-1 in the air, but then you do 1-2 when you land, and that's going to give you around 25%. So notice, none of these are extending your damage that much. I would recommend, unless you just want to be swaggy, you do the basic one where you just wait a moment, jump 1-2, forward 1-2. And, you know, don't get me wrong, the one I would probably do if I was grinding this a lot, I'd likely do the 2-1 into this to get this damage, because that one's not too hard. But I would not be going for the freeze combo. And that way you also have preserved your freeze, so then afterward, you know, you can be doing this in the corner, that type of stuff. So this is actually very scary for the opponent, because most of the game you can be doing your back throw combos, right? And imagine, again, I hit that. And then at the very end of the game, you can throw them off by doing a forward throw combo and killing them when they're not expecting you to. And if you do want to do the really big damage combo, you can. Just remember, keep it short. Just do this, and then you can do the rest of your combo like you normally would and get that big damage. Well, not that big. Big for throw damage. You know, hitting for 33% off a throw. That's pretty great. So that's nice. And we do have one last little tech thing you can do, and this is really taken from other cameos that I like to play. So standing 4 is basically our 1+ button. It leaves us +3. And this is also pretty nice because you're only -1, right? So you can be using this into throw. There's plenty of cases I'm going to do a reset into dash in this into a throw. And the nice thing is this move is long enough that you can potentially hit confirm this into, oh yeah, that's hitting, I'll do that. Especially if it's a jump into this, that's giving you enough time to hit confirm. If you're playing Cyrax, you should be going into slide combos, right? But if you were playing somebody else, you could be going into a vapor freeze. But if you're playing Cyrax, you've really got these amazing throw combos. You can be jumping in like this, and then you're still plus, and then you can be doing your grab. You might need to dash up a little bit based on the pushback, but as long as you're close enough, generally you won't need to. And then you can be doing either of those throws. You can be doing a back throw, or you can be doing a forward throw. And that's already a 50-50 if you're willing to spend, you know, the 2 meters on the forward throw. But you do also have the option after this to call Cyrax, and this will connect. Very similar to the back 3 nature of the combos. We're going to be doing something like this, waiting a moment for them to fall, and then we're hitting for around 30%. Now that was because that hit as well. It's more likely that this would be hitting, they'd be blocking that part, then they would let go of block it, hit by the low, and then you get to keep that going. You do need to be careful about, you know, this. You're more going to do a neutral jump to get this going, and so that's just nice. And you got to make sure you're, you know, hitting at the right spacing for the hammer part of the 1-3-4 to hit. But hey, you do have that as, you know, a little bit of a kind of mini strike throw mix-up. There is also the existence of bringing out Cyrax here and then pushing people into combos mid-screen, and it is possible to set that stuff up. You can be freezing them, calling out this, getting, like, you know, over here, pushing them in. Just don't get too close or you're going to get hit. You can see Sikander doing some setups like that mid-screen, though I do think and I've even seen some other Cyrax players doing that as well. In fact, the first person I saw do that was someone that was, you know, winning a bunch with it. I want to say it was Real Stark. So shout out to Real Stark for that. But at any rate, the point here is that throws are already very scary for the opponent because you're hitting for so much damage without any meter spent. The fact that this, you don't have to spend any meter at all, and you can be hitting for the absurd damage that we do is amazing. I want to say it's 23.5, right? Yeah, 23.5. The fact you're hitting for 23% without spending any bar is crazy. And then you can also be hitting for 23% for 2 bars, right? So that's why we're not usually going to be doing this one, because why spend 2 bars when you could spend no bars and get actually even a little bit more damage? Well, the upside is this combo is a heck of a lot easier, right? So if you're worried about dropping the other one, do this one. But also, the fact we can mix that up is really nice, and the fact we can even mix it up with this plus frames or the low is, you know, it's something. I'm not saying you're going to be hitting with it a bunch, all right? A lot of people are going to hold block long enough or they'll notice that you stopped and then are going into this, right? So, you know, how much of a mix-up is this? This is 18 frames. This is 10 frames. It's actually relatively close in terms of mixing somebody. So, hey, it's there. Toss it out. That is going to conclude Cyrax. I mean, I could keep talking about this character forever, but I think that this has been long enough. I will say to close, this is not a character that is quick and easy. If you want fast wins, pick Sonya, and you can just be mixing people for days, okay? If you really want to push yourself, though, and hit some swaggy-ass combos and some big-ass damage, yeah, Cyrax is the way to go. I'll talk more about Cyrax when I talk about who I think is Sub-Zero's best cameo, but for this one, I would just say, really put in the time if you're interested, because there are some really, really good rewards. And the nice thing is you do have a player like Sikander that you can watch hours and hours of gameplay and see somebody using Sub Cyrax at an Elder God level, and that's just great data. So I hope that this video has helped you win with Sub, because like I keep saying, that's the point of all of this.